I have the honor and the pleasure of welcoming you to this 47th Annual Board of Governors meeting. My name is Noa Ayalon. I am 33 years old, a PhD candidate, and I live in the nearby village of Kerem Maharal with my husband Roi and two children, Be'eri and Shachar. Although I did not grow up in the Carmel region like my husband did, it truly has become my home. I am happy to raise my children here in the environment, society, and culture that this area nurtures and conserves. This is also why the University of Haifa is such a natural and right place for me to pursue my PhD in philosophy. Overlooking the Carmel Mountains, the ocean, and the multicultural and diversely religious city of Haifa, it embodies the values I believe in. The dissertation I am now writing, supervised by Dr. Daniel Schneider, focuses on Spinoza's theory of love. Spinoza addresses love in two main ways. One is a relation between people, or between people and things, in what we call the real world, and the other as a rational activity which is the pinnacle of philosophical thought. These two ways are often thought to be unrelated, an equivocal use of the term love. I will show this is not the case. In fact, love is a real-world emotion, and the intellectual love of God are two sides of the same coin. In order to fully explain the connection between the two, I will also turn to sources in both ancient philosophy, which has a rich tradition of philosophy of love, and psychology. We have a full schedule this morning, and to begin, I have the privilege of calling Professor Alfred Tauber to speak and open the session of the Board of Governors.
So I am officially opening this session of the 47th meeting of the Board of Governors of the University of Haifa with particular pleasure, as today we will be making the transition from one chair, and it's a little bit changed from the printed schedule, so bear with us, please, and I hope that your attention and consideration will be rewarded. So we will begin with an opening remarks from the Mayor of Haifa, Dr. Adnan Kaliesha, and we are delighted that you've joined us. Please come forward.
Good morning. Professor Tauber, outgoing Chairman of the Board of Governors, Mr. Brad Bloom, incoming Chairman of the Board of Governors, Professor Ron Rubin, President of the University of Haifa, Professor Gustavo Mesh, Rector of the University of Haifa, honorable members of the Board of Governors from near and far, faculty members, staff, students, ladies and gentlemen. Let me start by welcoming Brad Bloom as the new chairman of the board. Such a great honor and opportunity for the University of Haifa. Congrats, Brad. I'm thrilled to be here this morning for the first time in the capacity of Mayor of Haifa to welcome you to the university's 47th Board of Governors meeting. Haifa is a Mediterranean sea with a wonderful historical center, a city of immense natural beauty and panoramic views, characteristic of no other city in Israel, as you can witness yourself now from the top of Mount Carmel. Haifa also possesses one other unique trait, a human fabric like no other, a fabric that is also typical of the University of Haifa. This is evident on the university's campus. Jews, Christians, Muslims, secular and religious populations, all studying and working together in peace and harmony under one roof. As the newly elected mayor of Haifa, I am faced with many complex challenges and tasks. I'm here to make a change. I will leave no stone unturned. An urban planner by profession, specializing in urban renewal, I have observed many cities around the world undergo processes of change. I have been following them closely and learning a great deal of relevant ideas for us here. Haifa has its own distinctive character, with all the makings of a young, thriving urban hub that young people are seeking today. My vision entails turning the heart of the city into a viable, vibrant place that will attract people, a place of gainful employment, rapid development, varied business opportunities, a true urban center combined with high standards of living, an outstanding transportation network, all the components of a great city, along with an active academic center. I see the University of Haifa as a major player in this arena, an enabler for young people to study and later on to build their lives in Haifa. In this respect, I share the President's multiversity and multidisciplinary vision for the university. Academic centers and universities play a major role in changing the urban concept and in creating a better tomorrow for us all. They are the cornerstones of tolerance and acceptance of multiculturalism. Haifa is a city where pluralism is a common household word. It can rightly serve as an excellent example of a sane life for the rest of the country and even the entire Mediterranean region. Our joint mission is to continue to support the university's status as a leading research center making major contributions to humanity. The university's footprint is unmistakable in all avenues of society today, in which its graduates hold major positions and are able to influence the future of the State of Israel. The connection between the university and the city of Haifa is ostensible. As mayor of this wonderful city, I am here to help you champion projects for the benefit of the entire community, to provide support to the university's management, faculty members and students in every which way, and to witness together with you the amazing accomplishments made by university's alumni on national and international levels. I see the university under Professor Rubin's leadership growing, not only academically, but also in terms of supporting Haifa's growth, the new port campus, which will continue to build a burgeoning area in the downtown part of the city, successful businesses, happy families, quality schools, modern playgrounds, all of which are the makings of a flourishing neighborhood. We must remain focused on our mission to foster academic excellence, creativity, innovation, entrepreneurship, and novel technologies, all of which will ensure that the University of Haifa will emerge as the trailblazer in diverse areas, including its active involvement in the day-to-day life in the city of Haifa. We face many challenges ahead of us, but we will succeed by working together, continuing to foster our fruitful and rewarding partnership. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Kaliesha, and welcome to the University of Haifa family. I have the great pleasure of calling our president, Professor Ron Robin, to the stage to introduce our keynote speaker, Professor Melvin Oliver.
Shalom, boker tov, good morning, marhaba. Welcome to everyone. I'm here to introduce President Melvin Oliver from Pizza. I feel I've known Melvin all my life, but we've never met. Today was actually the very first time we met. We have multiple mutual friends. We share lots of interests, but had not some unexpected crisis materialized out of nowhere, I doubt very much that these emerging bonds would have happened. For those of you who don't know the story, let me just tell it very briefly. Melvin Oliver is president of Pitzer College, one of the most prestigious liberal arts colleges in the United States, nestled in the hills of Southern California. And we have had an agreement with Pitzer College over the years for student exchange, which has gone on and off over many, many years. Somewhere out of nowhere, actually not out of nowhere, part of a basic turbulence that seems to be hitting the United States as of recent times, we were confronted with a faculty and in part student initiative for boycotting this relationship, for terminating this relationship under the auspices of BDS. Those of you who know of that movement, that is boycott, divestment, and why did I forget the S? And sanctions, thank you. There's a reason I forgot the S. We found ourselves confronted by an initiative to terminate this relationship. And a faculty council, a college council, endorsed this decision, and Professor Oliver vetoed it and issued a statement that I invite you all to read and learn. One can find it, of course, on the PITSA website. It talks brilliantly about how to stick up to academic values with no hesitations and no apologies. And for your brave decision and your courageous stand against non-democratic forces on campus, we wish to deeply thank you. If I may call you Melvin and not President Oliver, we're not a perfect society, far from it. We have our blemishes, we have our struggles, but here at this university, we go the extra mile to produce an equitable and just society. And to find ourselves confronted with a boycott was, to say the least, unnerving. And I can just say that you chose the right side of history. I think it was a historic decision. It was not an easy thing to do. It may jeopardize your future at the college, but as you said when we were chatting about this outside, none of us in positions of authority at the university need to think about what will happen a year from now. We have principles, we stand for those principles. We are the backbones of our respective institutions, and we remain as such even at the peril of paying a price. And we thank you very deeply for that, and it gives me great pleasure to thank you for being here, your wife and your family, and I invite you up here to give a few remarks.
Shalom Bakatov. I would like to express my thanks to the Board of Governors of the University of Haifa and President Ron Robin for this opportunity to share some of my thoughts with you today. As Ron pointed out, since November 2018, Pitzer College and the University of Haifa have been on a journey that none of us expected we would take. Our institutions were attacked for performing our educational mission, for giving our students an opportunity to gain intercultural understanding through a cross-cultural experience of learning in a different social milieu. The legitimacy of the direct enrollment program that Pitzer College has with the University of Haifa was being questioned given the arrest and detention of Laura Al-Qassem, a former member of Students for Justice in Palestine, who came to Israel to enroll in a graduate program at Hebrew University. In these brief comments, I want to reflect on how these times of polarized politics, we at the leadership level are more often than not standing at the proverbial gates to preserve our educational mission, to expand and expose our students to the panoply of human thought and culture, to open our institutions to all despite cultural, racial, sexual, and political backgrounds, and to apply critical thinking to every corner of our enterprise. When I became president of Pitzer College in 2016, I had no idea I would find myself in this situation. Pitzer College is a young college, founded in 1963 with a mission to, quote, produce engaged, socially responsible citizens of the world through an academically rigorous, interdisciplinary liberal arts education, emphasizing social justice, intercultural understanding, and environmental sensitivity. Its focus on social justice has always encouraged our students to become active and engaged participants in local and global political issues ranging from environmental causes to penal reform, from combating apartheid in South Africa to advocating for women and LGBT rights. In only a few instances did the college make institution-wide political statements. On those occasions, the decision to do so was based upon the active involvement of all the constituencies, from faculty to students to staff to the Board of Trustees. When the college voted to divest from stocks of companies who did business with South Africa, the decision was a product of several years of sustained discussion and research among the college constituencies. Similarly, the decision to divest from fossil fuel investments was a multi-year process. In November 2018, Professor of Anthropology and History Dan Siegel introduced into a faculty meeting a motion to suspend the University of Haifa direct enroll program for Pitzer students until Israel's immigration policies, and especially the 2017 entry into Israel law, is repealed. Professor Siegel is an advisor to the Claremont College's chapter of Students for Justice in Palestine. As I pointed out, a very strong proponent of BDS. He's a successful advocate of the American Studies Association's boycott of Israeli institutions, and an unsuccessful advocate of the American Anthropological Association's vote to boycott Israeli institutions. He's no stranger to these issues, as he is well known in BDS circles and beyond for his tenacious advocacy of Palestinian rights. After returning to Pitzer College from Israel in the summer of 2018, Professor Siegel offered a series of lunch talks to his faculty colleagues, purportedly educating them on the daily lives of Palestinians in the occupied territories and Palestinian Arabs in Israel. With Laura Al-Qassim's arrest and detention, and Professor Siegel's painting of the oppressive nature of life for Palestinians in the occupied territories in Israel, the faculty were primed to vote positively and promptly. In addition, Siegel is a successful one-man media operation, gaining international coverage of the Pitzer faculty vote, even though at that point there was no change in Pitzer's policy. Given our participatory form of shared governance, educational policy is voted upon by all faculty and a contingent of students in our College Council. College Council met on November 30th, 2018 to discuss the motion, and March 17th, 2019 for the vote. As you know, the vote of the College Council was overwhelmingly in favor of the suspension of Pitzer College's direct enrollment program with the University of Haifa. The vote was taken at 5:30 p.m. By 8 p.m., I had sent a press release and a message to the larger Pitzer community and the interested public that I was not going to implement their vote. As the president, the vote was a recommendation to me for which I had 30 days to, in writing, provide any objections I may have had. My opposition to the motion was couched in defense of the educational mission of the college. As president, I discovered early on that the more I addressed the details in any BDS-inspired argument, the more I became just another political combatant in what appears to be a never-ending contest of assertion, counter-assertion. This is the essence of polarized thinking today. Any fact, argument, or theory you propose can be countered by an equally compelling counter-fact, counter-argument, or counter-theory. Truth is a distinct gestalt for each political position, one that contains facts, arguments, and theory ready to be advanced to defeat your opponent's position. While we can validate statements for their facticity, what is becoming increasingly frustrating is that independent fact-checking makes little difference in the overall gestalt that one brings to polarized issues and polarized thinking. Arguing the nuts and bolts of the BDS gestalt gains you little, nor, more importantly, does it preserve your independence. I came to this conclusion slowly over time. When the first College Council met, I gave my concerns and expressed my disagreement with the effort to suspend our direct enrollment program at the University of Haifa. I made a number of principled objections that included, and bear with me as I read these, quote, to deny Pitzer students who want to study at University of Haifa the opportunity to study abroad and to enter into dialogue and promote intercultural understanding at the altar of political considerations is anathema to Pitzer's core values. Pitzer College, along with every college in the country, promotes exchanges and study abroad in countries with significant human rights abuses. China, for example, has killed, tortured, and imprisoned up to 1 million people in Tibet and utterly obliterated the Tibetan nation. Additionally, China currently has 1 million Muslims imprisoned in re-education camps. Why Israel? Finally, if the motion is enacted, we will foolishly alienate a large percentage of our Jewish and non-Jewish constituents who see this very polarizing issue differently from the stance expressed in the faculty motion. We do not have the luxury of isolating ourselves and alienating our friends. No one does, unquote. By the time of the Second College Council, it had become clear to me that the central focus of my objections had to be an unapologetic defense of our educational mission. We are not a political institution that takes sides to determine winners and losers in our academic community and among our institutional partners. To do so would destroy the fabric of sociality and equality that is necessary to discuss, debate, and create knowledge. We must resist easy calls demanding of us, quote, whose side are we on, unquote, whether that be Palestinians, marginalized people in the US, or the 1%ers. We are open to all, and to take a side clearly indicates that we have become a political institution that can one day be on one side and another day be on the opposite side. As an educational institutions, we have to be, quote, ruthless critics, unquote, of fallibilities on all sides, and, quote, generous appreciators, unquote, of truth and virtue wherever we find it. And we have to remember that our mission is to promote the greatest opportunities possible for educating each and every student. As such, we should, with great care and discrimination, adopt limits on the educational reach of our students, whether that be in study abroad opportunities or in pursuing unique educational opportunities. Pitzer College has always been a leader in this regard, promoting unique study programs that give individual students the opportunity to work with faculty in creative and exceptional ways. Academic boycotts of any nature set us on a path away from the free exchange of ideas. To boycott a country on the basis of their policies is, by definition, a blanket indictment of the nation itself and, by extension, its citizens. This is whether we are talking about Israel and its immigration policies or the United States and its Muslim ban. I'm here today to say thank you to the University of Haifa and President Rabin for standing with us in this defense of the educational mission of both our institutions. It is a credit to your institution that in this debate, no one could point to any policies or actions by the University of Haifa that would even be remotely linked to a rationale for suspending our program. With your diverse student body, you're really a model institution for us to partner with, and I hope we continue for years to come. Thank you for your attention, and I look forward to answering any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much for that moving speech, Melvin. A small token of our appreciation we would like to offer you here from the university so that you and your family remember this memorable visit over here. I just turn this towards the audience for a second. People will recognize the khamsa. This is a sign of good luck. And if you hang this in your office, it'll keep away all evil spirits. That I need it.
I want to say that this was a great opportunity to come to Israel with my family. My wife and I landed, and I looked over, she had tears in her eyes, and she said, "I'm home." So. And I'm lucky enough to have my son and grandson visiting us, sharing a holiday from Hong Kong, David and Samuel. Any questions?
Any questions, any comments from somebody in the audience? Please, Eli.
Well, it was a very tumultuous 2 months to the end of the semester. The faculty called me into a faculty meeting, grilled me for about 2 hours in anticipation of a no confidence vote. And apparently in those 2 hours, I essentially got them to back off. So they did not do a no confidence vote. The students, led by Students for Justice in Palestine, had 2 motions that they looked at, one motion of no confidence and one motion condemning me for going against shared governance, because the only time that any vetoes have been made at Pitzer College to shared governance activities have both been related to Israel. So they were very upset about that. The vote for no confidence did not pass. The vote to condemn me did pass. And we have started moving on. We will never convince Professor Siegel that Pitzer should not be in the forefront of the global battle to free the Palestinian people. I asked Professor Siegel, I said, what are you trying to do with this motion? I mean, this is symbolic, but it has a lot of meaning for us in Haifa. He said, no, it has meaning for the Palestinian people, because this will be the first time that an institution has made a statement about boycotting a Israeli study abroad program, and it will spark the revolution. And of course, how are you going to argue against that, right? I mean, this guy's just a true believer, and Ron has had the unfortunate, what should I say, occasion to have to correspond with him on email. He is indefatigable. The first college council, he wrote to our student body president 100 emails in a weekend. And this kind of harassment really causes some faculty to say, just let me get out of here, I'll vote for it, I just don't want to be in the line of fire. So there's a lot of drama there.
There was another question, Sonia?
Well, I just want to thank you very much, and I would like to ask the university, if possible, to make your speech available to all our friends associations around the world, because we have similar pressures, and we would have it translated in our languages, because to have such civil courage from a president of a renowned university towards a university that stands for all the values that you stand for would be the best message to counter such attacks. Thank you.
I will make that available. Thank you.
Adnan.
First of all, I want to, on behalf of the faculty, to thank you for your courage. At this time of polarization, we need leaders who are prepared to stand up, not for this side or for that side, but for basic common decency. So thank you for standing up for decency in the academy. We really appreciate it. My question to you is, at this time of polarization, of post-truth, and of this person's facts and that person's facts, if you might be able to offer us some thoughts about how in higher education we can educate our students to think critically and carefully about how to engage in these issues in order to produce more heroes like yourself.
Mm-hmm. That is a very difficult question, but let me try to take a stab at it. I was a professor at UCLA for 18 years. I taught in the area of urban studies and race and ethnic relations. I always presented multiple perspectives on various topics. What has happened in the academy today is we have fallen in love with our arguments, and we love to create, as I said, the gestalt that all fits. Doesn't have to be true, but it all fits. And we teach that to our students, and we teach students that that's the way that they think. Remember, but Max Weber was the person who said, what you teach students is not that important. How they make arguments, how they use facts, how they create these arguments are the important thing. And what our faculty have forgotten is how they create the arguments, and not that you have to be a proponent of the argument I create. And in fact, what happens in the classroom is oftentimes there gets to be a core group that repeats those facts, and people who have objections feel constrained from challenging them. So we need to get back to the classroom being a place where we have this ruthless debate and ruthless criticism of the fallibilities of everyone's argument. It's up to that student to make their judgment, not for that faculty member to give them a ready-made argument. So one of the things that I want to do is to try to get more balance in our presentations on campus. As president, I can bring in people that represent multiple sides so students can hear arguments and how they're presented, how they're made, how facts are used, what the methodology is. They can make some critical decisions about those kinds of analyses. And that's one way that I hope to do that. Right now, my campus is so high temperature-wise, I've got to bring the temperature down to where I can make that a reality that people will listen to.
Thank you. Once again. Thank you. Thanks for that cogent argument, which I guess most of us would agree with. Thanks for being a great friend of the university, and we look forward to seeing you here and your family many, many more times.
Thank you.
I would now like to once again call Professor Tauber to the podium.
Fellow governors, I address you today in a fond farewell as chairman. I've enjoyed 6 years in this position, and I want to acknowledge all of those here who have made my tenure a wonderful experience. To Rachel Kaverman, Liat Siegel, Esti Becker, Anat Ohana, Aviva Peer, and all the others with whom I have worked, a heartfelt toda rabah. They've made the administrative aspects of my job not only easy, but they've kept operations functioning smoothly and with a high degree of professionalism. And of course, Sylvia Tesla-Lozovic has been my personal representative here, and only she knows how grateful I am to her for her intelligent presence she's made in my absence. Of the faculty, I will not signal out any because that would absorb the rest of my allotted time. However, it is clear that I have profited immensely from getting to know many of you. I appreciate your dedication to this institution and the integrity you have demonstrated in fulfilling your many roles. Gustavo Mesh, the deans, and various professors. One of the major benefits of this position is to have access to so much talent and be enlightened by them. I also must acknowledge those with whom I have worked most closely, namely 2 presidents, Amos Shapira and Ron Robin, 2 chairmen of the executive committee, Ami Ayalon, Muli Eden, and now the acting chairman, Nadav Shachar. These are men of exceptional talent, and the experience and wisdom they have brought to their respective jobs has set a high standard for all those who will follow. And finally, to you, the governors, are a group of individuals whom I've come to respect and have relied upon to help me guide this board. The vice chairwomen, Lady Irene Hatter, Dr. Sonia Landsteiner, and Silly Charney. They've each offered me wise counsel and unstinting support. Thank you. And finally, to you, the governors, whom I have come to know quite well, I expect we will continue to develop our friendship. This position has afforded me an opportunity to learn what a university is and how it functions. I have studied and commented extensively on the immune system. It's the system which is best known for defending the body. But the immune system has a much more basic function, and that is to regulate the body. And if the immune system is functioning properly, we're healthy. But sometimes the immune system turns upon itself and we have autoimmune disease. And sometimes I think about the conflicts and confusions and problems that the university faces as a little bit of an autoimmune disorder. And the responsible thing to do, of course, is to solve the problem. We've all had experience with university culture, but to sit in the chair provides a broad vista of an extraordinarily complex institution. I've learned much, and in that process, I have appreciated, in ways I had not previously understood, how important sustained camaraderie and common purpose is required for the university to function well and prosper. You just heard an example from President Oliver of what happens when that doesn't occur. There have been times in the past 6 years where conflict has emerged and threatened cohesiveness. Without shared goals, everything becomes difficult or even impossible. As Abraham Lincoln so famously said in 1858, shortly before the American Civil War broke out, "A house divided against itself cannot stand." I believe it crucial that we remind ourselves of that truism. We cannot allow dispute to break our collective will. Disagreement, yes, indeed it is inevitable, but in the end, shalom bayit is crucial. So I just have a series of slides to make this point. Expect problems and eat them for breakfast. That's what I do every day, and I suspect everyone does as well. So that's not the problem. There are challenges to look at these issues as to whether the glass is half full or half empty. You have a choice. So in terms of academic excellence, we obviously have a lag in the competitive research market here in Israel. There are good historical reasons for that. This university began as a center of studies of the humanities and the social sciences, and the natural sciences were basically delegated to the Technion. Over 40 years ago, that model seemed appropriate for the resources of the state. But since then, the University of Haifa has to catch up. And largely, we have been successful. Each year, the research has become more competitive. We've done better in terms of research allocations, but obviously we have more to do. And so the rector will describe areas of growth and expected development, and I'm not going to go into further detail. Insufficient fundraising. I don't know of any institution, even Harvard, that is satisfied with how much money they raise. But clearly, we regard this as a very, very important element, and President will review our expectations. We've made significant strides in the right direction, but obviously more needs to be done. And then finally, and perhaps most importantly, the university strategy has yet to be finalized. It's still under debate, and I'd like to just take a moment to talk about that. The executive committee has been engaged in serious discussion as to how the university should go forward in terms of its expansion into new academic areas, as well as into a new geographic distribution. So essentially, what I am seeing from the top, as it were, is that there are two visions as to what the university is and what it should be. The president has promoted an ambitious program to expand the university into a multiversity, which includes building a harbor-based campus, a health college at the Rambam Medical Center, and the addition of an engineering faculty, Rauda and Carmel. The chairman of the executive committee and several other public members have opposed this plan on the basis that it is not financially prudent. The president and chief financial officer countered that no contract will be signed without responsible financial resources in place, and beyond the financial dispute, dissent also revolves around the priorities set for academic excellence. This is a spirited debate, and it represents a healthy discussion, because obviously all constituents need to be heard, and all considerations must be made. And because of intractable and unresolved debate, the chairman of the executive committee, Muli Eden, resigned April 30th, and the search for his replacement is underway. Hopefully, resolution of this disagreement will be forthcoming as careful study of the financial obligations and how they will be met are further developed. I note, and this is important, the Faculty Senate has endorsed the planned academic expansion. So my view, inspired by Einstein's bon mot, goes as follows. These are all quotes from him. Life is like riding a bicycle. To keep your balance, you must keep moving. So obviously we have to move. The question is where and how quickly. Logic will take you from A to B. Imagination will take you everywhere. I love that. As a reasonably rational person, I need to remind myself that we sometimes have to think outside the box. We need to expand our imaginative vision and to seek innovative and novel solutions. Because a ship is always safe at shore, but that is not what it's built for. We need to go out into the sea. So obviously, I am a strong proponent for an expanded university. In fact, in my inaugural address 6 years ago, that's precisely the vision I articulated. So Ron Emanuel, who was the mayor of Chicago, said a crisis is a terrible thing to waste. And by that he meant that there are opportunities in crises. But one also should remember that losing your head in a crisis is a good way to become the crisis. And so we need to cool down. We need to be deliberate, rational, and deliberate. So where does that leave us? Stabilizing the university leadership. There's going to be a new chairman of the Board of Governors. Hopefully you will ratify our nomination in a few minutes. There will be a new chairman of the executive committee. He is now, or she, being vetted, and hopefully that process will be completed under the able guidance of Nadav Shachar. A coherent and agreed upon strategy for the university's future development hopefully will soon be announced. And the restructuring of the executive committee is part of the normal, organic renewal of any organization. So, I don't know who Steve Maraboli is, but he said it's you and me versus the problem, not you versus me. And I think that encapsulates my message. I close with a return to what I said in my inaugural address 6 years ago. At that time, I outlined my vision of the University of Haifa, calling upon all of us to build the beacon on the hill, not only for the city or even the north, but for all of Israel. There was an outline of what is now being called the multiversity. That expansion is exciting and it heralds new opportunities for academic excellence. But I also addressed the university's social mission. I said, and I still believe, perhaps more now than even then, that we are uniquely placed to serve as a model for peaceful coexistence among all the diverse groups of people who study and work here. I admitted that our key precept must be excellence, but how excellence is defined is always at issue. If we follow the Shanghai ratings, it is quite clear what is required: research, publications, grants. That is academic excellence, and we're committed to following those criteria. However, there are other measures of excellence, and those depend on different values. The measures I'm referring to are assessed in terms of social capital, jobs, civil service, citizenship. Each of those categories could be described in much greater detail, but my purpose now is not to give a lesson in civics, but to again plead for a sustained effort at raising as a priority civil engagement of our students and staff. And that begins in the lunchroom. I would like to see Jews, Palestinians, Druze, and most strikingly our military cadets sitting together at the same table, laughing, arguing, commiserating. Of course, anyone can point out that the university is embedded in its supporting culture, and the fragmentation of Israeli society is simply reflected in the cafeteria. I say we must start to change our society here, right next to this auditorium. To effect such a change here is precisely what a university is poised to do. We teach, we guide, we promote. The lessons may be in history, biology, computer science, whatever, but we also teach social values, how to live together. In fact, that's the cardinal lesson. If we cannot find ways of making our democracy more inclusive, we remain divided and cannot stand straight and tall. Is this utopian? Yes, but please recall. Israel was born as a utopian dream. We are the beneficiaries of that fantasy. I suggest that we not awake to a reality that compromises that dream. Let us all share in striving for utopia. If we do not, we have cheated ourselves and our children of a better might have been. I fully admit to how difficult this mission is, but we all must make our small contributions. The collective effort would result in something significant. I leave you with this utopian challenge, and I suggest it is a most worthy way of thinking about excellence. The character of this great university and its future depend on choices we make now, especially now. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to climb this beautiful hill in the Carmel and look towards that future. It is exhilarating. Thank you. Okay, thank you. I love you too. All right. On a more somber note, two key members of this board have died in the past year. The first one I'd like to mention is Michael Davis. Do we have a photo? There, thank you. We appreciate Michael's devotion to the University of Haifa and his service in various roles, including president and board members since the early 1980s. Michael was very proud of the honorary doctorate degree he received in 2001, and the fact that he was a lifetime member of the university's Board of Governors. Michael will be sorely missed. His memory will be a blessing to all who had the good fortune of knowing him. The second gentleman we would like to mention is there. Good, thank you. We wish to remember another dear friend who passed away, Mr. Ataf Kaouf, who was a true friend and a close neighbor from Isfia. I call upon his granddaughter, Dua Zidan, who is a graduate of the Department of English Language and Literature, to say a few words in his memory.
It is with great sadness that I stand in front of you today, delivering this memorial speech for my grandfather, Atif Kayouf. Preparing this speech has been challenging, but also very rewarding. It allowed me to reflect on all the time he had spent with all of us, his grandchildren, on the university campus. For those who don't know my grandfather, he was born on April 27, 1940, to a Druze family living in Isifia's village. He established a family alongside his wife, Widad, who is here with us today, raising 5 children, 10 grandsons, and 1 great-granddaughter. I'm proud to state that my grandfather received his higher education at Haifa University, leading him to a long-term educational career as a high school principal and later as the head of the Arabic media in the Broadcasting Authority. Additionally, he played a meaningful role as a member of Haifa University Board of Governors, bridging the cultural gaps between Arab and Jewish communities. And of course, he did that by calling for equal opportunities and open discussions. My grandfather, Atif, seemed to become easily friend with everyone he met, with his outgoing personality, his ambition, and his leadership skills. But for me, he was much, much more than that. He was the one to listen closely to my secrets, encourage me to do my best in studies, escort me to the podium while receiving my master's degree, and especially being my own personal hero. So thank you all for listening, and may his soul rest in peace.
I have the pleasure of announcing new members for the Board of Governors. Yaron Valer, Yehiel Barakov, David Lubarsky, Dr. Michael Baker, and Edward Schneider. Welcome. We will go through the fiduciary responsibilities quickly. I need to get a ratification of new members of the Control Committee, Dr. Reuven Gal, Dr. Avigdor Sonnenschein, and Mr. Nadav Shachar. Could I have a motion, please? Second. All those in favor? Raise only Board of Governor members, please. Any opposition? Thank you, duly ratified. There is a new honor being bestowed upon special faculty, outstanding faculty, to distinguish them for their service, their academic excellence, and their achievements. And it's noteworthy that this position, which is essentially the highest professorial honor that the university will bestow, is tentatively titled, I should say, University of Haifa Board of Governors Distinguished Professor Award. In other words, the award is going to be known as our award for the most outstanding professors. Could I have a motion for approval? Second? All those in favor? Any opposition? This is a wonderful thing. Thank you. Ratified. All right, I'm going to do the next four quickly. Ratification of amendments to the general regulations. Those have been sent to you. Ratification of the appointment of Cost for Gabai and Kassir as a member of Ernst & Young Global as university auditors for 2019-2020 academic year. Ratification of the 2018-2019 academic year budget, and ratification of the financial statements of the university as of September 30th, 2018. Is there any discussion about that? All those in favor say aye. Opposition? No opposition, unanimous, extraordinary. Do you want to go? Okay. I'm most pleased to call upon the chairperson of the Control Committee, Advocate Bashir Fakum Jahusi, to give a report to the governors.
Good morning, everyone. Professor Alfred Tauber, Chairman of the Board of the Governors, Professor Ron Rubin, President, Professor Gustavo Mesch, Rector, distinguished fellow members of the Board of Governors, faculty, administrative staff, dear friends, I present to you my 2018-2019 annual report of the Control Committee. As I reported in our last gathering, we launched a search process to fill the position of the university controller. A search committee consisting of the chair of the executive committee, the president, and myself led this process, and I'm glad to update that we concluded our work and recruited a new controller, CPA Ariel Albert. I need to catch my breath, I'm sorry. I just got here. Who just started his new position on the 1st of May. I would like to seize this opportunity to wish him the best of luck. The control division in the university faces different challenges in a number of areas, including the staffing and overcoming the workload that accumulated in the interim period until the position was filled. On a more profound level, the audit process in the university needs to undergo review and revision, including amendment of current directives and bylaws as needed to bring it to the cutting edge of the current audit practices and procedure. I am sure that with the collaboration between RAL, our new controller, and the control committee, and with your support and assistance, we will make the effort and meet those challenges. Now I'll share with you a brief overview of the reports discussed by the control committee during the past year. As planned, the controllers unit, led by the deputy controller, Advocate Zohar Nakhshan, presented their report on the port campus in downtown Haifa. The port campus was inaugurated in 2009 in 2 buildings, and the activity was expanded in 2013. In the report, past activities were examined, including the original vision that led to the opening of the port campus and the realization of the vision to date. The report noted that there was a shift between the original intent for the use of the campus and the actual use, and to some extent an underutilization of the spaces and physical buildings. This was attributed to different constraints, some of which were internal that had to do with the logistical and managerial difficulties of managing a remote campus, and others stemmed from architectural and physical limitations. The report also examined the lease contracts between the University of Haifa and Haifa municipality, including the payment arrangements and the sublease of part of the compound to the Jewish agency to be used as an ulpan for teaching Hebrew. The report also reviewed the physical state of the different buildings that was in need of further attention and upkeep. During the discussion of the report, we focused not only on the findings, but also on how to utilize both them and the past experience to help better direct the university, given the current and future plans to expand the port campus towards making it yet another important portal for the university. The university management was responsive and asserted that many of the findings are being addressed as an integral part of the new planning of the port campus. Another report that was discussed by the committee was the follow-up report on Carmel-University's economic cooperation. Following a previous report on the company that was presented last year, the committee wanted to get a closer look into the 2 aspects of Carmel's activity. The first is Carmel's financial model of action and the corporate governance. The second is the interface between Carmel's operations at the university, namely a further inspection of the implementation of the founding agreement between the 2, and an examination of the suggested regulation for the intellectual property issue within the university itself that does not only have bearing on Carmel's activity, but has a wider scope of effect, given the university's nature as a research institution. As the findings concerning the first aspect were satisfactory, the ones concerning the second, the contractual and regulatory infrastructure for intellectual property, and the interface with Carmel, stated that it needed revision. The brief founding agreement that was signed in 2004 underwent some important consensual amendments that stemmed from the necessities dictated by the realities of Carmel's activities. These were done in separate documentation and not embedded as needed in the original agreement. Hence, there is a need for a new agreement that properly contains all the current and updated terms. The suggested new bylaw concerning intellectual property still needs to be discussed and approved by the executive committee. While this suggested bylaw offers a comprehensive regulation to the issue, the current one was found to be obsolete and lacking. We recommended that this item takes priority and be presented to the executive committee within 3 months, a period that is nearing its end. Alongside the usual course of business within the committee, during the past months, the wind of turmoil that went through the university did not pass over the committee. It was our firm belief and a consensus decision by the committee that given that there was no possibility for the committee to be actively involved in an issue that seems to be as a managerial issue, the committee does find a place to raise a flag concerning corporate governance in the university. We do think that this is an issue that needs to be learned more in depth and maybe dealt with within the next few months. I wish to thank the University Controller, obviously, and namely to former Deputy Controller Attorney Zohar Nakhshon for holding down the fort this past year, and wish him luck in his new position. I also want to thank Ms. Liat Segal-Lavidan and Anat Ochana for their competent work coordinating our committee's work. And of course, I wish to express my deepest appreciation to my fellow members in the Control Committee, old and new, for their contribution, devotion, and insight. Dr. Avigdor Sonnenschein, CPA Pinilahat, Professor Gal Richter-Levin, Professor Moshe Kim, and the new members, Dr. Reuven Gal and Mr. Nadav Shachar. Ramadan Kareem, and thank you.
Okay, now for the highlight of the morning. Brad, I have to disinvite you from sitting there. I mean, we're going to talk about you, so you need to go outside. No, you'll be back sooner than that. Six years ago, I also was escorted outside, and then there was a very long discussion, as at least it seemed long to me. Manfred was the chair at that point, and there was a discussion about the nominee for the new chairmanship. And of course, I wasn't there, so I don't know exactly what was said. But I think part of the issue was that there was a question about how carefully I had been vetted. I mean, who was Tauber? And I decided that we would begin the process of finding a new chair very early, and that we would vet and examine and consider as many people as possible for that position. The Constitution calls actually for a committee. It's called the Forum. It's comprised of the chair, the vice chairs of the board, the president, the rector, the chairman of the executive committee, and I think one other individual, probably a faculty member. And we convened, and I can tell you that there were about 15 names on the list. Many of these people had been interviewed, and it was the unanimous consent of the committee that Brad Bloom of Boston, Massachusetts, was the outstanding candidate to become the next chairman. His curriculum vitae has been circulated, so I needn't go into any details about who he is, but I'm certainly open to discussion about this nomination. Any questions or comments about the Forum's nomination? By the way, that nomination went to the executive committee where Brad was unanimously confirmed. Ron.
Thanks. So this relationship with Brad has developed over quite a long period of time. It began about 1.5 years ago when, at the urgings of a common friend who's here in the audience, sitting over there, I approached Brad and received a firm no, told me that he's not interested, he likes the university, but he's just stepping down from his business obligations and doesn't care to take up a relationship with another university of which he doesn't know much. And as I've learned over the years, and I'm sure Melvin will agree with me, no means not now. It never means no. And we went back multiple times until Brad actually saw the light. And he has multiple qualities. I'll mention the first one. He's from, as Fred mentioned, Massachusetts, and we will not, I don't think in the near future, have anybody who's not from Massachusetts as the president of our board. We have this blossoming relationship with Boston. But Brad also comes with extensive experience with universities, as you know from his Harvard experience. He understands governance, which, as you understand, is an issue that we're dealing with right now. He understands fundraising, and he just understands university cultures in a manner which few people who don't belong to our little club, and Fred does belong to our little club, but few people outside of our club actually understand. And so he brings that sort of insight, which I think is going to help us move forward on our strategic plan and also cover some of the turbulence that is part of our governance right now. And so I just add my endorsement to whatever's been said here before. I find him to be an outstanding candidate.
Nadav, would you like to make a comment?
In the executive board, we look on several names, and you present Brad Bloom, not a doubt that he's coming with excellent breakdown to help the background, to help Haifa University, and I think that everybody was agreed that he's an excellent candidate to be the chairman of the Board of Government, so thank you.
Thank you. Other comments or questions? I'll entertain a motion of nomination. Jay? Give the microphone to Jay. Over here.
I nominate Brad Bloom to be the new president of the Board of Governors.
Chairman.
Chairman of the Board of Governors, sorry.
Good. Do I have a second? Odette. Here. Mr. Feller.
I think this is an excellent nomination, and I just want to congratulate him. It's wonderful for the university.
Thank you. Any further discussion, comments? All those in favor, kindly raise your hand. Thank you. All those opposed? Any abstentions? Wonderful. Consensus. Please bring Mr. Bloom in.
Well, first of all, thank you very much. It's a wonderful privilege to be here. Thank you, Fred. Thank you, Ron. Mr. Nadav Shachar, the chairman of the executive committee. The friends that I've met in the last few months, I've been trying to, I think as a newcomer to the university, but not as a newcomer to Haifa. I've been trying to learn about the university, to meet people. As many of you know, I came here a couple of months ago, spent several days meeting the rector, the deans, faculty members, and really trying to get an understanding of the place. And I'll talk a little bit about the future perhaps on Wednesday evening or tomorrow afternoon. But right now I just want to give you a little bit of my background and my approach. And I'm happy to talk to any and all of you during this time that we're here together this week. So I first came to Haifa in 1970. I keep getting pulled back to Haifa. I'm not quite sure why. In 1989, I think it was, Eitan, we co-founded the Haifa-Boston Partnership, which still goes on to this day, and it's been a wonderful partnership of equals, benefiting both societies, both communities, and has really grown and flourished during that period of time. So I've come here many times through the years, and that's accelerated in recent years. And when Fred and Ron approached me to do this, I was, on the one hand, reluctant because I didn't understand and know the institution intimately and didn't have back. My wife said, well, why don't you go on the board and learn a few things for a few years, and then maybe something will happen. I said, well, I think I'm a little old for a training program, so I'll just jump in. But I have been involved with other education institutions and nonprofits in Boston, where I come from. I have also been involved with many corporate boards through my business, and so I'm familiar with governance, with process, with engagement, and so I thought I would share a little bit about my approach to such things. I like an open environment. I like everything being said directly. To me, any point of disagreement, the more disagreement there is, it should be brought early to the table and discussed openly and carefully, and there's no bad idea. So I am not somebody who says, I know where I want to go, and I'll take you there. My job as the chairman of any board or group would be to facilitate the best debate and the best discussion to be able to achieve the best outcome for the institution or the organization. So that's my approach, plain and simple. One other general comment, and it was a great honor to be here today with President Oliver and his family, and certainly what you did in California. And it's interesting, because we applaud you, we appreciate it, it's marvelous. And then the question is, what do we do? And it's very easy, sitting here in Haifa to talk about BDS and the outside world and what's happening there. And indeed, that wave, for those of us who are from the United States, and Sonia, you mentioned, certainly Europe and such, we see that throughout the world. And we can be critical of it, and we try to combat it wherever we can. And certainly your words and your guidance inspire us for that. And when I first read your letter to your faculty, I was just stunned. I immediately circulated it to my family and said, pay attention to this. And, but I think that we have to, rather than just look to the outside and to think about that, I think we have to bring your spirit here with us. And so a number of people this morning have referred to the challenges of governance and the problems and some of the past, and that's fine. And as a newcomer, I'm aware of it, but I don't have to dwell on it. And I would just encourage us all to take on the spirit that you gave us a vision of today in our own workings, and I think with that spirit we'll find solutions very quickly. So thank you for your confidence, for your support. I look forward to spending a great deal of time with you in the coming years. Thank you. I'm told that I get to close the session, and I hope we're early, so I get a little credit for that. Oh, questions? Yes, I know. I met Manfred.
Before you go to coffee, there will be an evening honoring our outgoing president tomorrow evening. But this is the Board of Governors meeting. And so I felt from the heart that as the acting predecessor of Fred Tauber, one of us should get up and say thank you to Fred Tauber. If not, we will forget it. Fred. 6 years of wisdom, now crowned by a beautiful beard. Fits you well, fits you well. 6 years of success and 6 years a stunning involvement with our great university. So I think we should all be very grateful, and we are, and in spite of all your endeavors, we hope to see you again at our annual meetings. Thank you very much.
And we'll have more to say tomorrow and tomorrow night about Fred. I didn't want to start too early because I don't want his ego to get too big before he goes home. But thank you very much, and I guess we have our break.